Hey there, welcome back to the Deep Dive. So thanks for sending over these notes from HVDNA's website.
Yeah, no problem. It looked interesting.
Definitely. Today, we're going to dig into something I think a lot of people in manufacturing know well, maybe too well. Digital transformation, specifically for electronic assembly factories.
Oh, yeah. It's a world that many listeners probably recognize, right? That challenge of just keeping tabs on everything, complex lines, manual steps everywhere, data kind of siloed off.
Exactly. You know that feeling. Walking onto a factory floor, maybe seeing clipboards or just disconnected spreadsheets. Machines are running, people are busy, but trying to figure out actual production status or quality issues or where something went wrong, sometimes hours later.
That disconnect, that relying on manual checks, visual inspections, reports that are already old news, it's a huge bottleneck.
It really is. And that gap, between what's happening now on the floor and the data people use to manage things, that leads straight to errors, delays. It makes finding problems quickly really tough.
Absolutely. It's reactive, not proactive.
And that's pretty much the core challenge we're looking at today. Our mission, using this material you pulled from HVDNA, is to really unpack what they're offering with their SmartWorks system.
Right.
Like, what is it actually? How does it try to fix those common factory problems we just talked about? And maybe what features or approaches kind of stand out from what they're saying. Let's unpack this.
Okay. So looking at the material, their main thing seems to be this ERPMS system. They call it SmartWork.
SmartWork.
Yeah. And they position it as, well, the digital transformation solution for electronic assembly. It's designed specifically for real-time production management. Goals are pretty clear. Boost productivity, improve quality, and ensure traceability.
And they jump right into that problem we mentioned, don't they? They talk about the lack of data connection, the synchronization issues between people and machines.
They really emphasize that, especially how those manual processes, the reports, the visual checks, how they're kind of the root cause for errors, quality errors, machine problems, operational mistakes.
So it sounds like it's about replacing that reactive manual stuff with something more automated, proactive.
Exactly. So the next question is, how does SmartWork do that? The material describes it as essentially real-time production management software. Its main job is collecting data while production is happening.
Okay, so it's grabbing data live, like right off the line as things are being made.
Precisely. It pulls in stuff like output numbers, machine run times, which specific components are used, production conditions, maybe temperature, pressure, things like that, and also what they call 4M management conditions.
4M, right? That's usually man, machine, material, method, the basics of any project.
That's the one, the core element. So it's gathering all that data.
Got it. So pulling in all those key variables, but in real time.
Yes, and it's not just collection.
Yeah.
The system also handles, exporting data, importing data, reading QR codes for tracking parts or products.
Okay.
And then here's the critical part. It analyzes that stream of data and gives you visual results instantly. That real-time analysis and visibility, that seems to be the key piece.
Yeah, that real-time bit feels like where the prevention could come in, instead of just finding mistakes later.
Right.
And the benefits they list seem to map directly back to those factory headaches we started with. Production process management, productivity improvement, operation error prevention. I like that, not just detection. Quality improvement, and product tracking and trace.
Yeah, they're clearly aiming it straight at the core needs of this kind of manufacturing. And the fact they call it an ERP MES system, that's interesting too.
How so?
Well, ERP is usually the higher level business planning, right? Orders, materials, finance. MES, manufacturing execution system, is the factory floor operations. And ERP MES suggests it tries to connect those two worlds.
Ah, okay. So bridging that classic gap between the front office and the actual assembly line. Makes sense. So let's maybe walk through the different parts of the factory this system is supposed to manage based on their list. They start with engineering, ENG.
Right, ENG. For engineering, it looks like the focus is managing all the technical info digitally. So documentation, drawings, work instructions. Think about centralizing that stuff, making sure everyone's using the latest version. That's huge for consistent quality.
Definitely. Okay, then there's plan control, or PC.
Plan control, PC. Yeah, that seems to be where it links up more with the business side.
Yeah.
Handling the actual production planning, tracking progress against the plan in real time.
Okay.
Managing customer info tied to orders and helping with shipping. It's kind of the coordinator between what needs to get done and what's actually happening out there.
Got it. And logistics, LOG.
Logistics covers the warehouse side. Things like making sure materials follow FIFO, first in, first out, so components don't sit around getting old. And managing the finished goods going out the door, just keeping track of all that inventory.
Yeah, impossible to do manually once you get to any kind of scale. Okay, product assembly, ASSY. This must be where a lot of that real-time data grab happens.
Oh, absolutely. This looks like the core operational hub for the system. It manages the production lines themselves. So setting the plan for a line, watching its progress live, capturing data for metrics like OEE.
Overall equipment effectiveness. Yeah, that's a big one.
Right. Tracking quality data, logging any downtime or losses, managing those 5M conditions. They add measurement to the 4M here.
Okay.
Enforcing work standards, generating reports automatically, and critically, capturing all the data needed for detailed traceability right there at the assembly step.
Automating OEE capture, that alone would save a ton of time compared to manual tracking.
For sure. Shifts it from a periodic chore to a live dashboard. Next is quality control, QC/IQC.
Right, quality control. Looks like it deals with things like LOT number judgment. So helping manage and record decisions on batches based on quality checks, making sure only good stuff moves forward.
Keeps bad parts from getting further down the line. Then production engineering, PE.
PE.
Yeah.
This sounds like it's focused more on the machines themselves.
Yeah, it seems like it. Managing equipment status, operating procedures, helping implement TPM, total productive maintenance strategies.
Right. Keeping machines healthy.
Exactly. And using IoT for real-time monitoring of the machinery.
Yep.
Keeping the equipment running reliably is just as crucial as the process itself.
Okay. And then there's eDocuSave. This one. This seems really relevant for companies dealing with ISO standards or audits.
It really does jump out, yeah. This is all about digitally transforming documents, specifically to meet ISO 9001 standards for records management, storing your PDFs, your Word docs, Excel files, all that stuff, but in a controlled, structured way.
For any company serious about quality systems, managing documentation digitally and linking it into the production system like this, that seems pretty smart. Less paper, better control.
Definitely removes a lot of hassle and potential error. And finally, they list IoT separately.
Right. PE mentioned using IoT for equipment. So this is broader.
Seems like it. This category looks focused on monitoring the factory environment. Things like temperature, humidity, maybe even air pressure.
Ah, okay. Crucial for certain processes, right? Like if you're working with moisture-sensitive components or need clean room conditions.
Exactly. So, yeah, looking at that list, it's pretty comprehensive. It really aims to tie together data and processes across almost every function, from planning right down to the air quality.
So when they talk about why a factory should choose their solution, what's the main pitch there in the material?
Well, they circle right back to that core problem we started with. The lack of connection and sync between people and machines, and needing to swap out manual processes for digital automatic control. They talk about building a solid production infrastructure.
Okay, building the foundation.
And they highlight a few key capabilities that enable this. First, connecting and synchronizing all those databases that used to be separate from components coming in the door to finished products going out.
Right, breaking down the silos.
Which then lets them manage production in real time, the goal being to prevent errors before they happen or as they're about to happen, maintain control, and constantly evaluate process capability using live productivity and quality data.
And traceability again.
And traceability, absolutely. Linking every product back, components, processes, conditions, non-negotiable in electronics.
And did they mention any specific advantages, like why them?
They did. They specifically point to ISO 9001 integration as something that helps ensure a successful digital transformation. Almost like saying compliance is baked in, not just an add-on.
Okay, that's a strong claim.
And they also claim their traceability works for all production processes and products, which suggests a flexible yet thorough approach. It sounds like it's grounded in those practical manufacturing needs and quality standards.
Seems like it fits the electronic assembly world well. Now, beyond this core SmartWorks system, the material also mentions some broader services, right? It wasn't just the software.
Correct. They touch on other digital transformation services, like outsourcing custom software development if a factory has really unique needs the standard MES doesn't cover, and consulting too.
Right, helping figure out the solution.
And they go into some detail on embedded software solution.
Embedded software, like software running on the equipment or testers.
Exactly that. They give examples like software for circuit testing, ICT or function testers, custom IoT controls for specific tasks, not just general monitoring, even HR stuff like attendance tracking integrated on the floor.
Ah. Interesting.
And very specific measurement and control apps. They mention things like managing cream solder storage conditions or automating static discharge measurements, really specific factory floor tasks.
Okay, that's definitely deeper integration than just a typical MES would handle. They also supply other software.
Yeah, technical software like CAD/CAM CNC tools, standard Microsoft stuff, Windows, Office, and they provide training. Plus, they can supply the hardware too.
The actual computers and network gear.
Yep. Industrial PCs, servers, industrial Wi-Fi, IoT devices, and they offer technical support for it all.
So it sounds like they could be kind of a one-stop shop for the whole digital infrastructure, not just the MES software.
That seems to be the idea. And they ground this broader offering in their team's expertise. They mention an engineering team with over 16 years of experience.
16 years is pretty solid.
Yeah, and across different areas. Production management, technical management, IT, and even ERP databases. So covering the whole spectrum.
Do they mention any validation or cred?
They mention positive assessments from big names like Sony, Panasonic, HP. And they make a point of saying they understand ISO standards, 9001, 16949 for automotive, 27001 for information security.
Okay, so they know the compliance landscape.
Right. And they explicitly state their products, including SmartWork, are built from practical experience and integrate these ISO standards from the ground up, not just bolted on later. Seems like they've been in the trenches, so to speak.
That practical experience angle is probably pretty important in manufacturing. Finally, the source mentions some recent articles or topics they're engaged with.
Just briefly, yeah. Topics like ESG, environmental, social, governance, and IoT applications, and also trends in the semiconductor industry.
Okay, so they're keeping an eye on the bigger picture too.
Seems like it. Shows they're thinking about how their tools fit into broader industry shifts and corporate goals, like sustainability or changes in key markets like semiconductors. It's not just about the factory floor in isolation.
Okay, so if we try to wrap this up, looking at everything from your source material on HVDNA and their SmartWork system,
Yeah.
the main takeaway really seems to be tackling those deep-rooted problems of manual work and scattered data in electronics manufacturing.
Yeah, that's the core message.
It's a digital transformation approach focused hard on integration, automating the monitoring and control, and crucially, giving people real-time visibility across the whole factory.
Moving from reactive management to something much more proactive and controlled.
Right. Improving those key things. Quality, productivity, traceability. Basically building a genuinely connected production infrastructure.
It's like trying to shift the factory from constantly looking in the rearview mirror to having a live dashboard, maybe even with some autopilot features.
That's a good way to put it. So given this heavy focus on transforming manual processes, on digital control, on automation, here's a final thought for you to maybe chew on. How might systems like this SmartWork fundamentally change the day-to-day reality, the required skills, even just the job itself, for the people actually working on that factory floor?
That's a big question. Definitely something to think about.